We're going to be talking about the emotional impact of parentification, and I will be encouraging you to really reflect on how parentification may have shown up for you. I'm going to introduce you to something called the attachment versus authenticity conflict, and then we're going to explore some of the reasons why it might be difficult to be vulnerable if you've experienced parentification, and why it might even be difficult to connect to how you're feeling and really know what's going on inside of you sometimes. World-renowned trauma expert Gabor Mate talks about the attachment versus authenticity conflict. Essentially, we have two really important needs as human beings. The first one is the need for attachment. This is our need to connect, to feel loved, to feel protected, and we need it for our survival, and not just us. All mammals and even birds depend on their ability to attach to their caregivers and for their caregivers to attach to them in order for them to be able to survive. The biggest difference here is that human beings spend the most amount of time vulnerable and dependent on our caregivers. It takes us the longest to reach maturity and become independent. For instance, a baby chimpanzee is born at the same developmental level as a human when they are 1 year old. And I share that with you just to give you a little bit of perspective. We need to be able to attach, to survive, to form relationships, to form communities, and to form societies. Our second really important need is our need for authenticity. This is our capacity to understand how we feel, what our needs are, to be connected to our body, and to be able to express that. But what happens when our need for authenticity is in conflict with our need for attachment? In other words, in conflict with something that we need to survive. We feel forced to choose, and we will choose to adapt as best we can. And what that means is that we might give up on showing up authentically, on expressing our needs, on sharing what we're really interested in. Sometimes parents send a message, either intentionally or unintentionally, that we are not acceptable as we are, that we are only going to be given attention, admiration, and love when we show up in a very specific way. And these are the sort of messages that lead us to believe that perhaps there are parts about ourselves that we should hide, or things that we should inhibit and not share. Sometimes we might worry, as children that have been parentified, that if we share how we're feeling, our parents are going to feel disappointed, upset, they won't like us, we'll be punished. Maybe our parents are very stressed, they don't have a lot of resources, and they won't be able to handle it. And the fear is, if my parent falls apart, then who's going to be there to take care of me? And so these might be some of the reasons that a child, a teenager, might choose to really hold back, not share, adjust, mask, change how they present, just to make the best that they can of this relationship, because they really need those parents or those caregivers. When this is the message that we receive over and over and over again, over time, what happens is that we learn how to put our needs to the side, how to continuously, almost reflexively, prioritize the needs of other people. And this leads to a difficulty with being vulnerable with people in adulthood, and also an emotional distancing from ourselves. We have been taught, and it's been reinforced, that we can create a space within ourselves for understanding and receiving the needs of other people, but that there really is no space for our own needs. And so we might lose touch with what those are. We might forget, we might suppress, and we might find ourselves entering adulthood and not knowing how we feel, not knowing what we need, not even really knowing who we are, perhaps defining who we are by what we do, by what other people see in us, by how other people talk about us, rather than having that very unique experience of the world that is separate from how we're perceived by people who are outside of us. Not knowing how we're feeling and what we need, and having these fears about how other people might respond to us, in very similar ways that we were responded to growing up leads to this really big difficulty with being vulnerable. There is a mistrust that others will be able to handle it or give us what we need. There might also be a difficulty in even knowing ourselves what that might be so that we can even communicate it. I want you to take a moment here and just pause and notice what is coming up for you as you sit here in this lesson. What is your breathing like right now? Is it slow and steady and full? Or is it quick and shallow? Maybe you're holding your breath. What kind of self-talk, memories, images, feelings, and body sensations are coming up for you right now? Are you finding yourself relating to the material that I'm talking about here? Or are you finding yourself rejecting and pushing some of it away? Maybe explaining to yourself why this doesn't apply to you. Maybe defending the people whose job it was to take care of you. I want you to just notice what is coming up for you without judgment, almost as though you are an observer of that internal, emotional, and intellectual landscape of yours, and you're just kind of seeing what's going on in there. This is how we start to make space for ourselves. This is how we start to get reacquainted with who we are, with how we feel, and with what we need. And you might notice some discomfort here and an urge to maybe distract yourself or not do this. But I really encourage you, if you can, and if you feel up to it, to make just a little bit of time, even if it's just a moment at a time, to just reconnect with yourself and what's coming up for you. I've created an exercise to help you dive a little bit deeper into this topic. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences of parentification. The moments of disconnect, misattunement, aloneness, emotional pain. Notice what is coming up for you. How do these experiences connect to difficulties or emotional pain in your present day life? Do you struggle with feelings of guilt, taking on too much responsibility, and or emotional caretaking for other people? Do you suppress your personal needs? Do you feel unable to slow down or rest? Maybe it's something else. Notice your breath. Is it slow and full, quick and shallow? Are you holding your breath? Notice the memories, the images, and the self-talk that comes up for you in this moment. Notice the feelings that come up. Notice the sensations in your body. Do you observe any urges? The urge to avoid, the urge to rush, to be somewhere else, to problem solve, the urge to defend, to eat, to sleep, to run, maybe something else. Watch the urge and notice it without doing anything. Just observe. Notice being here with yourself and your experience and not doing. Allow yourself to just be, to give yourself the space and the attention that you deserve. To notice that your thoughts and feelings are different from behaviors. They don't hurt, they don't harm, they don't disappoint. They are just part of your experience. Take a few moments here, and when you're ready, take a few deep breaths and return to the room.